Report is so long overdue, and I have some very important news to share with you about the justice for Micah. If you have been following me for some time, there was a report in April and May that I had reported about this case of justice for Micah in Micah Miller's case. I stopped reporting it because of the threat of, first of all, John Pàul Miller was threatening creators who were reporting on the story. It really impacted me personally because I have been a survivor of domestic violence and I truly took it very serious, the threat of cease and desist, that he was claiming that he was going to go after anybody that was reporting on the story. It impacted me so much that I wanted to shut down my channel because personally, if you don't know my story, I was strangled 70 times as a victim of domestic violence and survived. And I take domestic violence very serious. If you haven't known my personal story, please follow Saving Grace. It was the only outlet I had. And I'm going to do more as far as actively pursuing more justice. And what I was doing is I was engaging in helping legislate more legislation for domestic violence survivors because funding is hard. During the Obama administration, the funding was cut. So it was harder to get help to not only fund programs, but to just get funding as far as crime assistance. And how that's adjudicated is through the judge. Once you win your case, you get a sum allotted to you to relocate and save your life. And if you're awarded that money, you get to relocate and get help in specialized programs. I was awarded that help. As I told you before, I was strangled 70 times, and I still have problems with my neck. I still have difficulties, and I am in PTSD therapy and also EMDR. I've gone to several different types of counselors, and I do have a high anxiety. So I do stay at home for that reason. And I try to grow my channel so I can stay at home. But the Justice for Micah case took on a whole new meaning. And I knew I could look into her eyes. I knew not only was she a victim, but she was a severe trauma victim as well. I'm here to say in this report in the link below that the FBI has now raided J.P. Miller, John Pàul Miller, the pastor, his house, and he is under current investigation and has been since before Micah Miller. Currently, her case is under her F.B.I. review. So share this link, watch it, see what you think about this story. If you have questions or concerns about domestic violence, there is a national hotline that I'll put the information below. But if you want to hear more about my story about Saving Grace, it is my personal story. I kind of tweaked it a little bit so that you can know it's sort of more fictional. I kind of elaborated in it, but most of it's based on a true story. So if you're curious about domestic violence, as you know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And please never forget what domestic violence awareness is about. I think everybody has a working knowledge of domestic violence awareness, but the real impact that domestic violence has, and it has years of impact on children and families. It can happen to men, it can happen to women. As you know, Abercrombie and Fitch just came out with a huge arrest and bust. Men have been raped in several cases, with the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, Jeffries, is now been arrested, as well as his long-term partner, for raping men. in a human trafficking ring. So it can happen to men, it can happen to women, it can happen to children. Trafficking and human trafficking is just as goes with the whole domestic violence ring. It's a horrible crime that can be committed to anyone. That's why it's so widespread. So awareness is so imperative. And people who speak up for the victims, the voice in the wilderness, it's imperative that we get the news out to those who need to hear the story. So I wrote the ebook on this called Saving Grace. So if you want to know more about my book or have questions about what I went through personally, go ahead and ask me in the comment section. I'll be happy to do that. Thank you again, and God bless.